Welcome everyone. My name is Maria. I'm the Executive Director at the Leesburg Center for the Arts, and you are with us for Art Project. It's episode 3, and here today we are interviewing Arrachme. She is an international award-winning artist who decided to call Lake County her home. I would say mixed media artist because it's a variety of different mediums that are used to create some of her masterpieces. And we're here to talk a little bit about her process, what she does, what she's working on, and you have it. Let's go. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm actually in Sumter County, but we cross over 5 counties, so it's a huge city. And I love to go to Orlando as well, and Ocala, and so and then of course international. So there is no I guess home is the world.
Yes.
Because every day I'm interacting with people from all over the world: Turkey, Iran, England, South Korea, just the other side of the United States. California. So we've got projects going on everywhere. So I'm very excited. Soon, the art world's constantly changing. So and also changing with the societal changes that are happening right now with the COVID and so everything is really gone. The internet has exploded. So what does that do? It brings us as artists, it brings us closer together. So positive.
Right.
Something good comes from everything. And just there's been so many wonderful projects and people that, artists that wouldn't normally think to put a project together, yet they're like, well, sure, I could do that. So very exciting to see what everyone's coming up with all over the world, and excited to be a part of it. And so I had some organization contact me, and so my work will soon be on ArtNet and Artsy, which are two of the largest platforms in the internet world. So very exciting. Of course, your project, you're submitting to your project, which is a big project, the hospital, and just finishing the Wolfgang Puck restaurant. That was exciting too. So there's so many things. I mean, your project's just as exciting as the project we did in Monte Carlo. So it's always something happening. So paint like Picasso. He never put his paper down. He was always working with, and he worked with multiple mediums too. Mediums and media. In the World War II, he had to work with what he had because supplies were limited. I noticed at your project, at your place, you guys are very creative, and you work with many different modalities of the art world. Music, my husband is a musician, so very exciting. I work with a group of people that I joined in the last year, and we always submit questions. It's kind of like that, my dream or prayer was to relive what they did in Montmartre, where all the artists got together and then they submitted work to the salons. And it's exciting, and it's nice to find people that are doing the same thing you're doing. We as humans, we're always looking for
an adventure. I think we're looking for an adventure, curiosity, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how did you get started?
Wow, I remember when I was 5. Don't remember much of 5, but I remember that I was the one that was always doing something creative. And it was like, what is she going to do now? And it never stopped. You know, I went into being as adult. I did go to, you know, business college, but also went to interior design school. And so I got my art there. And then I was lucky enough to be, you know, I have magical things happen all my life. It's just amazing. But I was adopted by a tutor. So it wasn't just taking a class. This man was actually a tutor.
Ah, okay.
So he took on a few, you know, 4 or 5 students a year, and that was it. And he was a Russian master. So that he was a very powerful influence in my life. But, you know, Frida Kahlo, I think of her. I think of Picasso, Leonardo, you know, for different reasons. There's the Georgia O'Keeffe. I love her passion for a graceful curvilineal line.
Yes.
You know, Da Vinci, because he meditated as well and just got to that place where, that theta state where creative ideas just flow and new ideas. So, you know, we can learn from everyone in history. And so it's always a learning experience. So that's how I got started, I will say. And it never stopped. I always had my senses turned on full blast. So I could always feel, as a small child, I was a very sensitive person, always felt it, you know, and right now with what's happening in the world, I could feel the joys and I could feel the sorrows.
Right.
Empathy, I guess you would call it. So, and that translates into the art. So, you know, my work is influenced greatly by the environment, and so environmental and humanitarian. But that butterfly that's flying outside, or the red in a ladybug's back, or the round shape of a ladybug, or the hummingbird that's flittering its wings and creating all the shapes, and you can just see that, or you could see the edges of the leaves on the trees. That's what influences the art. And for me, you know, I paint for people that love freedom. The work's always, no matter what I do, if I paint a really busy piece, and it ends up being a very freeing, uplifting piece. No matter what I do, I end up with that, or I end up with happy colors. And or even if I try to use black, I'm still going to end up with, it's going to be a happy painting.
Yeah.
So I think that's because I'm influenced by nature, influenced by the animals and the trees and the life and the bright sun. And we live in Florida. We've got those beautiful skies. But when I was in North Carolina,
have that.
Yeah, we do, and they're ever changing.
Yeah.
We went for a walk the other night, and we looked up, and wow, there was this huge shape in the sky of clouds, and you could just see you could see it, you could feel it, you could feel the billowiness of the clouds, but you could see all the different values of grays and pinks and blues. We're so lucky to have that. But when I was in North Carolina, living in Nashville, I had the mountains, and the mountains have their own beauty. Yeah. So, you know, traveling is fun. And of course, we're not doing that right now.
No, we're not. But do you think that has helped you in your journey, is being able to have the freedom to travel and it invoke all of the other, you know, the differences in different cultures and seeing different what's around you. So we're talking about landscape, but then being throughout Europe and in Turkey, because I'm assuming you went to
I didn't go. I belong to a collaboration of artists that exhibit for humanitarian purposes or environmental purposes, or for example, the Fukushima accident. This group of artists were doing for 5 years. Involved in every year there would be an exhibition to bring attention to the nuclear accident.
What do you have your website, and then I know you were offering classes.
Yes. And then the classes are my way of giving back to community. Of course, I get paid to do it. But that's the live classes. I put together a program called Fresh Approach to Painting. And it was a program of, I felt 12 steps to actually try to, well, not try, it actually worked, but to bring out that creativity out of a person and bring it right to the surface. Sometimes people have a hard time bringing that out, but an artist lives within every soul. I feel it does.
Yes, I agree with that statement. Yes.
Wonderful.
I agree
so
with that.
All you have to do as a teacher is to tap into that and let them go. So you're just like what is it? It's like a honey pot, and you're just tipping that honey pot a little bit until it starts flowing. I love honey and bees. But and so that's what those classes I created do that. And of course I teach regular, always come up with a new program every year. So that's the live classes. And then I had an online program which I made. It was on my website, and it was a for-profit, but what I did was made it not for profit, and I opened it up to everyone for the COVID, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to go back to having that paid. Let people just, it's a sparking kind of set of classes. Right. Just spark people maybe that have never painted before. They'll just bring them into how to put the supplies together, maybe how to combine colors, and then a series of, one's a water painting, one's an abstract. And if you may not be a realistic artist, or you may not be an abstract artist. You may be an impressionist, but it doesn't matter, because those classes I try to touch on each genre in painting, and each one, once you realize that no matter what you paint, their glazing, if you learn to glaze, layer, put transparencies down, we use different words in each grouping. Like in the impressionist painting, we're going to call it one thing, and in an abstract painting, we're going to call it something else, but it is still layering.
Okay.
And once we learn to layer, then once we get that down, then the next step is to go away into this world where it's, I'm intrigued by the interaction, the chemical interaction, or the chemistry of art. And so how does a piece of paper interact with, or rice paper, how does it interact with this medium when you saturate it, or when you desaturate it, or when you put a thinning agent into a heavy body paint, what are you going to come up with? So how do you learn to work with all these different mediums that are now available to us as artists?
Right.
And acrylics, and then acrylics fine-tuned, and now you can create, and that's funny because behind me, what I did was put together 2 new products that give the illusion of encaustic wax.
Okay.
So the painting behind me, this one, the robe, that one is actually rice paper, coal wax medium, oil, and acrylic. So let me move out of the way. So you can see that. Now when you look over here, that is all acrylic. Okay. So we're getting the same coloration that you would get with the oil, with the coal wax. Of course, you can mix any any color with wax, the
Yeah.
cold wax. But the authentic encaustics that are heated, the beeswax that are heated, they tend to have a yellowish tint to them. Well, that product is called, it's an acrylic product, and one is interference and one is iridescent.
And
One
you
is
mix them together?
You mix them together, and then what I did was I was able to tone those the patterning, because that was the first stage, was intense patterning. And then now this second big stage is coming up with large shapes, but using the layer of that color that came up. And you can see how it was very, very busy, and now it's toned right down.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring back that busyness, and I also flipped them over, because the goal is to have an end result that the person, if they get all, the collector buys all three, they can interact, they can move them around,
Right.
turn them upside down, and they're still going to look cohesive. So that's my latest challenge, and yet to have it busy, but then end up with it looking minimalist.
Well, and I think that's what makes this collection interesting, is because you are creating something that can still adapt to the environment it's going to be displayed in. So
Yes.
you're adapting to the person that's going to buy it. And I think that is brilliant, because everyone has our unique perspective. So you're not buying now into, you're not buying somebody else's perspective. You're giving them the opportunity to look at it and dig deep to figure out how they like it best.
Yes.
And
I think interact.
I think that is and we don't find, there's not a lot of options like that anyway out in the world. You know what I mean? When we're investing in art, you invest in art because it connects with you and you love it. And some people buy it because they're looking for what matches in their home. But majority of people, if they're investing in art, they're investing because there's a connection there. But you're giving the option of a deeper connection, because you're giving them, the collector, the opportunity to not just own it because it's sitting on their wall, but to own it because now they are steering the direction of how they want to show it.
And that's excellent. You have you pulled it all together. The other piece of that is, how you buy a piece, and I will say my art's not inexpensive, but in these large pieces, when you buy something, you're like, oh, well, I'm tired of that. Well, you won't get tired of it, because you can move it around. Yep, and you can create something totally different. As a designer, I would always say to my clients, and I had some, people, sports and movies, actors, this kind of thing. But what I would say is, so it was pretty high end. And I would always say, let's leave the walls neutral, and let's use the art to make the impact.
Yes.
Because but you still had the art in one direction. Now you can move it around and interact with it, like you say, and it's more exciting. So if a commercial environment, say a hospital, buys something like that, they can actually just flip it over, and they can have a whole new look. So the viewer, if you have the same people visiting the location over and over and over, they will actually feel a refreshed feeling as well. I'm also working with finishes, because in the world that we live in, I'm not saying that you can take Windex to it, but you can take with the resin, or with the varnishes that I'm using, you could take a damp cloth or a dry cloth, but damp cloth if needed, and you can write them down.
Well, I think especially if you're targeting commercial areas, I mean, that's a big part is we as artists, but as society, are now really wrapping our arms around the idea of multiple different types of spaces becoming art gallery spaces, art, art walls, and whether it's a mural or it's a hanging piece. I think that in order for us to move forward and keep the momentum as having original art in a hospital or in an office space or in a realtor's office, whatever that looks like, I think we have to start thinking about and being conscious about having different types of finishes, because we have to be able to clean them. And
right. Well, now more than ever, we have to be able to clean them. So we have to move with the times. Even though we're artists, we have many hats to wear. Now we have another hat. Oh, we have two more hats to wear. We have the internet hat that's really strong and it's changing its face. And then we have the, because I've sold online all, for many, many, many years, over 12 years. Now the internet's changing, so artists need to adapt. And now the contagions are coming our way, and so we have to adapt, and we have to adapt quickly.
Yeah. Do you find to sell your work, what platform is easier or more, I guess, more efficient to sell your work? Is it the internet or is it still gallery shows?
Well, people don't buy the art; they buy the artist.
Yes, always.
And so they buy the brand. So your brand is going to sell. No matter, I'm lucky, I am going to say, but your brand is going to sell no matter where you are or what you do. But yeah, physically going with the art, generally at this point, you have people that represent you.
Yeah.
And, but I have my own, but those people that represent me also expect me to have a website. And expect me to be on Facebook, expect me to be have all these vehicles available. And the more I'm able to have all these things in play, then it makes their job easier. In other words, they're not going to want to create a whole. They're not going to create a website for you. They're going to, if you're a professional, they expect you to have a website. They're not going to teach you how to ship a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
Although now they actually will just send me a call tag. But for years, I still have to know how to go box that piece of art. Even at this level, I still have to do that. So I have to know how to do that. And that's the thing I get a lot is like, wow, you've got both sides going. Well, many of the people that I collaborate with or that I'm friends with all over the world, they also know how to do that. And like we were saying, interacting with people from different cultures, different, it's funny, is like South Korea, he will say no. And what he means is yes. So it took me a while. It was like I was getting a text and he would say no. And I'm like, oh no, what have I done? And it's like, no. He's saying, yes, you've got it. Oh, you said it to me correctly. It was like, it took me a while to get that. But every culture is going to interact different with you. And it's up to you to be respectful of other people's cultures, to understand and take the time to learn about other people's cultures. Know what colors are going to work. Red in China is a happy color. It brings joy. The brides wear red. In Middle East, it's browns, it's blacks, it's the Indian yellow, beautiful colors, creams, all a sign of abundance. Again, abundance, success. So you would not, well, you might still use the other colors, but you got to know that if you're painting a piece that's introspective, that's working with maybe depression or sadness or something, war or something like that, you've got to know what colors you're going to work with. Now, I'm not saying prostitute your creative self. Don't change who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a certain collection of work available, if you're going to say, here's work that I'm going to send for this collaboration, you have to know what you're sending, because you may be sending a different message than what you intended if you don't do your homework study. And I call it respect. And it's so funny because in the world that we live in right now, it's all about what matters.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say it like that.
Yeah.
And everybody matters and everyone is equal. In the art world, we love everyone. We see beauty and creativity in everyone. We feel when a group of people are under duress, we feel it deep in our souls. And we make the difference. When Picasso finally painted Guernica, when he finally agreed, boy, he walked or whatever, stepped to his own drummer or whatever that. But when he finally gave in and did that to make the statement about war, we as artists are the ones that go in. We are worms that dig the hole. We create the change. We take urban development. We are the ones that go in and move into areas that are maybe depressed or whatever. Use art to make them beautiful, and then the people come in and buy up all the houses, and then the houses become worth $500,000 or $1 million, and then we have to move on and we create another community. That happened in Art Basel.
Do you think it's because we have this inner, I think it's kind of like this optimism that happens where, and I feel like, and I could be wrong because I'm speaking in terms of all artists as general, but I think I think there's a cluster who really believe in the better future. Like, so there's this, it's a visionary concept, but it's always looking at it as the glass is half full, understanding that you're also bouncing other people's emotions off of you as an empath. But I think there's this compassion layer that as a creative, you have to tap into to get to your creative self. Right. And so the majority of people are so afraid of that they've cut themselves off of that. That's why they don't force themselves to be creative or tap into their artistic self, because they don't want to open that door of external emotion. I mean, like it's when it opens, it's this wave of crazy emotion, not just compassion, but it's empathy. It's feeling what's going on in the world. It's not just seeing it. It's not just talking it, but it's feeling it. And that's a whole different level. And it goes back to, and I'm going to draw some sort of comparison, and I don't know if this will translate as much as I want it to, but I feel like it's that same window is cracked open when it rains. And then when it stops raining and you're outside and you can see the lushness that happens from all of the vegetation that soaked up the raindrops. Everything is so bright and vivid, and you know where you are, you know where you stand. It's like it's this understanding of where you are in the world and then what's around you. And I feel like there is a correlation there. I don't know exactly what that word is or how to explain that.
Trust. You know, you trust. It's up to us as teachers or artists to create a safe place, which we do, a safe space. And then, because we trust and that knowing this, that something good will come from everything.
Yeah.
The after the rain, after even a forest fire.
Yeah.
That's all a necessary part. So when changes happen, a virus,
yeah,
good things come, will always come in the end. And if the good things haven't come, the end is not here. That is, you know, my fifth grade teacher, or was it, I don't know how old I was, but one of the first teachers in grade school said to me, Arrachme, reach for the moon, because the least that could happen to you is you'll fall among the stars. And I remember that. And I even have a saying, I found a sticker, put it on my refrigerator, because that is so true. No matter what happens, something good will come from it. And I think you're right. Artists just inherently know, because we're working with beauty all the time. Even if we're painting with gray, we know that the gray is necessary to highlight the light, the bright yellow in the painting. Because if we didn't use the darkness to enhance the bright, you wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
It would just be, it would blend right in.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Well, then on that note, we're done.
All right, wonderful.
So, if people are out here and they're watching this, they want to find out more about you, where are they going to go on? What's your website?
My website is my name plus the word art. So Arrachme, I only use one name. So ARRachmeArt.com.
And then you're on Facebook.
I am. Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, everywhere, all over the internet, hundreds of pages, and soon to come, ArtNet and Artsy, which I'm very, very excited, and that will be
that's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. It's happening. Yeah, it's really wonderful. That is with the big boys.
That's exciting. I love that. So, okay, well then I am going to close it out, and I want to say thank you to everyone for watching this episode, and thank you, Arrachme, for taking the time out on this Thursday afternoon to have this Zoom conversation and talk about your artistic journey and what art does for you and how you use your inspiration in your everyday work. So, yeah,
I'm grateful to be even part of you, and I'm grateful for this opportunity, and the Leesburg Center for the Arts. How exciting is that?
This is going to be, it's going to be an amazing, I would say year, but we don't know what's going to happen this year. So it's going to be an amazing future.
All good things.
All good things. All good things. So, all right.